The new rogue bosses suck. They're really cool and they're really awesome, but they end up succumbing to a lot of the same shortcomings as most of the other AI in Tarkov, and if anything, they end up continuing to shine a spotlight on why the AI in Tarkov is broken. So let's talk about it. Before we move on, I want to take a second and thank the sponsor for this video, and that is Opera GX, the perfect web browser for gamers. One of the coolest things about Opera is your ability to basically custom tailor whatever experience you want from your browser. You can head over to settings, click manage GX profiles, and then create profiles based on whatever needs that you have. So for example, Silent here will automatically mute all the tabs by default and disable any browser sounds or music, keeping my experience nice and quiet. Maybe you want Rogue, which automatically clears all your browsing data as soon as you exit the window. If you want to create your own profile, you just click add new profile, pick a color, pick a name, and then you can do custom configurations or pick from one of their predetermined ones, like streaming, which is perfect for keeping all of your information safe if you're going to be going live. The GX profiles are a really cool setting built right into Opera GX, and this is just one of a million cool features. The hot tabs killer, for instance, right up here at the top, allows you to look at all of the tabs you have open, see how much CPU and RAM usage they're using, and then you can just dismiss them from here, which makes organizing your tabs and making sure that your browser isn't taking up too many resources an actual breeze. The GX player, which is also built right in here to the sidebar, allows you to connect your Spotify or your Apple Music or any number of accounts at the same time so that you have access to music from any tab from anywhere right here on the sidebar. And then another really cool thing about Opera is the GX corner up in the top left. The Opera team actually goes through and finds really good deals on games or even free games and then curates this list that updates regularly so you can find some really cool deals. Opera GX is awesome. There's so many additional features like the ability to link your Twitch and your Discord right into the sidebar as well. It just makes so much sense. So go ahead and join the millions of gamers that are streamlining their setup and getting access to all of these really cool features by downloading Opera GX, available on desktop and on mobile. You can use the pinned comment or the link in the description. Thank you so much again to Opera for sponsoring this video. And with all that said, let's dive back into the video. So the new rogue bosses are really cool and in some ways really well designed and have some cool new features surrounding their AI and some new mechanics that seem to be on paper like they could be really cool. But we will rarely ever practically fight them and experience those things and think, hey, that was a really cool fight. What will actually happen and what is already happening is that it highlights what is, in my opinion, the core problems with the AI in the game, and then will ultimately fall into the same category as the rest. If you are in the know, you will easily be able to farm them, and if you aren't in the know, you will never be able to beat them, and it will always be a weird and just funky, bad game experience. In order to break that down, first I want to talk about what I think is wrong with the AI in general, and then we'll talk about the bosses, what works for them, and how they kind of just fall into a lot of the same categories. So why does the AI in Tarkov suck? Now, I am in no way claiming to be a game dev or know how this works. I know that thousands of developers across the world, all smarter than me, have dedicated decades of work to crafting the perfect enemy AI for gaming. However, I've played a lot of Escape from Tarkov, I've watched this game a lot, and I've talked to a lot of people who experience these same shortcomings. Also, this is kind of our job as testers, right? Like whether you like that they call this game a beta or not is not the point. The point is that we are supposed to test this game and provide feedback for it. If a certain armor in the game was impossible to pen with any round, we would talk about it. In my opinion, the AI is needlessly broken, so I want to talk about it. Now, we have all had those moments in the game where a scav or a boss is like literally just standing in front of us. They're not aggroing us at all, and we just kill them, and we're like, that was a weird experience. And then we've all had the exact opposite. Most of the time, I feel like we all also have the exact opposite experience where Killa or Sturman kills us through walls or bushes or trees from like 200 meters away with only one shot. Or hell, even a regular AI scav can often absolutely destroy you with one shot, sometimes from like 40, 50, 70 plus meters away. This inconsistency of experience makes them frustrating, often not fun, and disproportionately affects newer players that don't know how to prevent those things from happening. And then what it does is it forces the players to find their weaknesses, which are oftentimes incredibly predictable movement, pathing, and spawn points. And in a game that wants to be all about unpredictability, it just doesn't feel right to always know what is going to happen. Killa and Sturman are great examples of this. Originally, they were both so incredibly predictable. Killa only spawned on one specific part on the map, and when he did, he was very easy to kill because if you put any damage on him, he was just completely stun locked and you could kill him with just about anything. Sturman was very similar. He would only spawn in one very particular part of the map. If he aggroed on somebody, he would then move around to any part of the lumber mill. But if you got a close spawn, pop the stim, you could get there, zoom in on one location. If he was there, you could kill him. If he wasn't there, then you know he didn't spawn and you could just reset the raid. And that is a big component of the argument here. When the AI are easy, why they are easy is because of really predictable pathing, reliable spawn points, and cheesable movement. The solution to them being too easy is almost never addressing those things, but rather increasing vision, accuracy, or health pools of the boss. This is like topping off the oil in your car when your gas tank is empty. It's just not addressing the problem. And then, much later, for Sturman and Killa specifically, some really great changes were made to make them less predictable in their spawning, but the dumb changes were never reverted, making them even more impossible now. Killa used to be very predictable and easy to kill. Then he became very predictable and incredibly hard to kill, and then he became very unpredictable and incredibly hard to kill. And we end up with what is, in my opinion, the worst experience of those three scenarios. So what are we supposed to do about it? Now, please, please, please hear me when I say this. I'm literally going to timestamp this in the video. I do not want them to be easy. That is the most common response when I talk about this. They can be hard, but be better. People often think that if they are 1% easier, then the whole game is broken. They're way too easily farmable. The economy is gone, all of that stuff. There is an ocean of gray area between where they are now being stupid and incredibly difficult and them being way too easy and farmable. I just want to explore some of that gray area. A great change they made was having Killa spawn all over the map. This was finally a change that addressed the core issue. He is now very unpredictable in where he will be and therefore much harder to farm. But does he still need to be able to instantly 5-tap me to the thorax? Does he still need all of that insane vision, even though his helmet should literally cover 80% of his vision? He is a hard boss to one-tap. If his pathing and reactions were widened a bit and his vision and aim turned down, it could create a really cool experience. The tension of never knowing where he is in the mall, the punishment for pushing through the mall carelessly could still be death by Killa. A fight with him could last longer if after he engages with you, you throw some shots back, you hit him, he hits you, he backs away into a nearby store to heal and then flanks around another way back into the fight. Maybe there is a lull in the battle where you lost him, where he just completely disengages and now you have to go find him again. This would lead to a sense of accomplishment for the player. Every fight with him a new puzzle to figure out, and the reward for playing smart would be his dope loot. Imagine if Sturman shot you in the arm or the leg and then repositioned to a different source of cover in the lumber mill, extending the fight and punishing careless behavior. For a brief while, Tagilla was really balanced in this regard. You never knew where he was going to be, you never knew how aggro he was going to be, and then the fact that he had multiple different types of weapons allowed for a ton of strategy. You could close the distance and get close so that he would stop shooting you, pull out the hammer, while you're mag dumping him to take him down, and his loot was balanced too. Sometimes he had a class 6 rig, sometimes he had the class 4 rig. He had a really good helmet, but the helmet in and of itself had its own weaknesses and not covering the back of your head or not allowing you to wear contacts. He had decent ammo, he had grenades, he had potential for some key spawns. It all felt really balanced. On the flip side, another perfect example of all of these issues and actions is the Rogues on Lighthouse. They were a really cool, new, fun, and exciting AI faction that was coming to the game that immediately got completely broken and exploited. All the wonder was sucked out as people, including myself, were posting farming guides almost immediately. We learned exactly how to quote-unquote beat them with incredibly high success rate, abusing their extremely predictable pathing, know exactly where they can and cannot see, and understanding their spawn places and chances meant that within weeks, if you were in the know, you could quite literally take out 12 plus rogues from one single spot on the map without ever getting shot at. This then had repercussions on the whole game. Some of the best armor, guns, and ammos were flooded into the game. And in order to combat this from happening, BSG just made them way harder to kill if you weren't in the know. Their aim is insane, their reaction time is instantaneous, oftentimes so fast that you're dead before you even see the animation of a rogue turning around, and their vision is crazy, all while using guns that are often very low durability or have iron sights instead of optics. They don't play by our rules, and none of these things make them harder to farm. It only makes them impossible to kill any other way than the farm. And some people are for sure going to say, well, get good and learn how to fight them. That's how you're supposed to fight them. But let me ask you something. Is that how you want them to be? Is that the most rewarding way to fight them? By killing all of them without them really reacting or attempting to fight back oftentimes? When I was a kid, I memorized how to solve a Rubik's Cube. I remember somebody taught me the algorithm. I memorized the algorithm and I could do it, and I could do it fast. And it was cool that I could do it, but I didn't figure out how to do it. We have all just memorized how to kill them, and I think it would be cool if every encounter with them was a problem we had to solve, if every encounter was different, if there were more than just 2 or 3 paths to take to victory. Wouldn't that be more fun? Because at the end of the day, you can't look at the rogue AI right now and tell me they are smart. They will oftentimes do absolutely nothing when the one directly next to them dies. They often don't react to sound unless they actually take damage. And at the southwest part of the water treatment plant, if you snipe at them and don't kill them, they will quite often literally walk off their guns, walk out of their fortified camp, stand still, and give you an easier shot. They are not hard, they are not challenging, they are not realistic. They are either impossible or they are stupid. And again, I don't want them to be easy. I want them to be hard, but dynamic and smart and unpredictable and reactive and not so easily farmable. What would it look like if they didn't have such perfect aim and nutty reaction time, but they would split up when one of them was taken down? Or they would actually retreat into the buildings, forcing you to actually go into the water treatment plant to clear it out? Or maybe all of the rogues on the roof would put inaccurate but suppressing fire down on your location when one of the roof ones went down. What if the roof ones would go down to cover when they felt like they were getting attacked, or other ones would come up to the roof to support the other ones up top if you were picking off the ones on the roof? What if their pathing and spawn points weren't ridiculously predictable? What if they used more of the water treatment plant as cover? This could lead to hard, drawn-out fights where each engagement is a problem to solve, but at the same time, you'd have less of a fear of just immediately falling over dead at the first mistake. All of the noise would then also attract other players. So this long drawn out fight would oftentimes give away your position to other players, and that would be another threat you'd have to deal with. Ammo and med conservation would actually play a part instead of just knowing you could come in with 1 or 2 mags and clear the entire camp. It could be better, but still hard. Now, you might say, well, Jesse, all of this sounds great, and of course it would be better, but it's not that easy. AI development is hard, and they might not have the funds, or maybe they're unwilling to allocate the funds because they're just money-hungry developers. Maybe they're working on a better system right now that will come out soon, or maybe it's just taking longer than expected. Any and all of those things could be true, and I am not a game dev, and I do not know what all goes into this, and I definitely don't know BSG's prioritization or motivations. However, I am convinced that a band-aid solution would be easy to put into the game and would be infinitely better than what we have now. This is a beta. This should be the perfect time to be okay with a band-aid solution that is better for the game temporarily while the devs work on something more permanent. Right now, the AI is an open wound in this game, and instead of putting a band-aid on it while we rush to go get stitches at the hospital, they are just jamming a ballpoint pen right into the wound, not telling us how long until we get to the hospital for a proper solution. Remember when I said that they shouldn't be easy? I meant that, but to be honest with you, them being too easy and them being too farmable would actually be better than what we have right now, in my opinion. And there are some simple solutions that make them better, but still not too easy and not too farmable. Here's how I would do it. First of all, we have to address their accuracy. In my opinion, AI scavs should never be able to one-tap you first shot. Remember, these are largely untrained civilians with broken, half-built, and low durability guns. Their accuracy should be turned way, way down. Yes, of course you can still die to scavs if you get overwhelmed or if you get careless and literally just let one shoot at you over and over and over again without getting to cover, but not the first shot from 70, 80 plus meters away. These are supposed to be the farmable enemies. Almost every game has some sort of low-level enemy that's easy to kill. Who cares if the scavs are easy to kill? It's not like it's an insane XP or loot farm. It doesn't mean they have to spawn by the thousands. They could still pose a threat, still give away your position, still be a utility and a part of the game. Even boss accuracy allows for absolutely no margin of error. What does a proper fight with Killa or Sturman even look like? It often ends up just being one-tap them from a right side peek or die. Of course, the bosses should be higher trained and have better accuracy than the regular AI scavs, but once again, an ocean of gray area there between them being too easy and what we have right now. I think if you turn their accuracy way down and each fight with them was an actual fight with multiple volleys of bullets going in either direction, it would be much, much better. Let me ask you something. What is the one thing we all know about the Stormtroopers in Star Wars? It's that their accuracy sucks. That's because the movie would suck if Luke Skywalker and Han Solo died to the first Stormtrooper they saw. Nikita said it himself on our podcast when I asked him, what is your idea of a perfect raid? what's the long-term vision of how a raid plays out? When you think about like the perfect raid?
The perfect raid is that kind of raid that you are so thrilled about it that you want to post it on Reddit, for example. The perfect raid is that kind of raid that gave you that kind of emotions that we are wanting to give you through a game. And that's it. It could be 5-minute raid or 10 minutes raid. It could be 12 minutes raid. It could be like team-based raid. It could be night raid, rains with the cultists, anything. It's just like you are so eager to post it and like tell the story about it. Could be a mix of everything, but working well.
Yeah.
It must work well. Not perfect, because perfect is impossible. But as much close to perfect condition as possible.
He said in so many words, a story unfolding that you want to tell your friends about, something that gets your heart rate up, something you had to persevere through and struggle through and figure out how to overcome. The current AI in the game does not support that type of gameplay. Now, secondly, I would address the loot. If we're going to make them easier, then their loot can be more dynamic. Some bosses already do this really great, like Tagilla, Reshala, or even Gluhar doesn't always spawn with his M1A. Sometimes it's like a PP19 and a class 4 armor. The bosses add tons of value in other ways, them having better XP. Oftentimes there's multiple goons that you can get, good ammo, magazines, high capacity magazines, good attachments, grenades, a potential key card, maybe a labs card or a Bitcoin. It can still be fun and worth fighting, even if they don't always have class 5 armor. So on bosses like Killa, I would make it so he doesn't always spawn with his Killa armor. The helmet, nobody really uses, but it's good value. There's still tons of other value in killing him. And that way, it's not like we're flooding the economy with the best gear in the game. And to be honest, even if it did mean we were flooding the economy with more of the top tier stuff, what it really means is just that more of the casual players have access to this loot, because all of the people in the know already have that good stuff because they know how to farm all the bosses or the rogues or the raiders or whatever. Now at least the playing field is leveled a little bit until a more permanent solution is put in place. They have a past of not minding if the economy is messed up temporarily. I'm thinking back to when Bitcoin was 1,000,000 rubles per Bitcoin and you could craft like 9 in a day, or back when they gave everyone 900 rounds of 7.62 BP as a Christmas gift. Toning down their accuracy, slightly adjusting their loot, seems like it has way more positives than potential negatives. The third and final thing to address, in my opinion, is their spawning, which they're actually already doing a really good job with some of the bosses. Once again, the changes to Killa are much better. Some of the changes to Sturman have been better. The fact that Gluhar can spawn in many places on reserve, or Reshala with 3 different places on customs, these are good things. And that transitions us perfectly into talking about the new rogue bosses. Now, with everything that's already been said, as you can see, it's kind of just hashing the same stuff out again. Once again, really well-designed concept, really cool ideas on how they work together to tackle an enemy, but they just immediately fall into this category. Even if you are careful and tactical, it ends up just being a lottery. If you're doing everything right and clearing an area and they just happen to be in an other area when you're clearing this area, boom, you're dead. We're gamers at the end of the day. This isn't real combat, and they're not realistic either. We can't be expected to clear every angle perfectly when the whole point of the raid is that we have to be in and out in what, 30, 35 minutes. We know exactly how many other PMCs spawn. We often know exactly where they are. Maybe we have a quest. Maybe we have a quest to do something weird, like get headshots with tremors. This isn't realistic, and the AI isn't realistic either. They're using guns that are super low durability, and yet they never jam. They're moving in really weird patterns that nobody would do. They push, or they'll run right into a door after watching their friend die. Realism is not a factor here, so just putting Bird Eye in an arbitrary window and making him 3-tap you immediately from 100 meters away is not a good game loop. And we're already starting to see these same strategies get implemented.
Oh my god, they're here. They're here. They're here. They're here. They're here. They're here. Oh my god, they're here. Oh my god. He has the full auto GL. No. SR25, please don't let me down here. 1. 2. Oh, let's fucking go!
Is that fun? Is that immersive? Is that realistic? But to be perfectly clear here, if I'm in that situation, I'm doing the exact same thing Vibin did there. Yes, it is super cheesy, but especially when you have a quest to kill them all, their aggro range is so insane, their vision is nuts, they actually remove the footstep sounds from Bird Eye, and they're all incredibly lethal to you. This is the only way to feel like you can stand a chance. And so the cycle continues. New bosses are introduced with amazing gear. They don't want them to be farmable, so they make them stupid, but stupid, accurate, and deadly. So we have to bait them into incredibly predictable pathing, kill them while they're in a running animation, get the loot, and get out. And the people that don't know the strategy never stand a chance. Their gear is another confusing point. Another thing that kind of feels like switching the tires on a car that's out of gas. It's not really helping anything. Why are their guns so low durability? Yeah, they have cool armor, and once again, they have opportunities for key cards and cool stuff like that. But after all that work of putting in, what you get is a grenade launcher with 12 plus grenades on Big Pipe if you kill him quickly, but his MCX has 20 durability. It makes it completely unusable and only worth stripping for attachments, but the boss's guns never jam when they shoot at you. So instead of making it a difficult puzzle to figure out and a fight that rewards the players with loot that they might actually use, they end up just being farmable, only worth killing for the stuff that you want to sell, or getting the most broken and OP gun in the entire game. Now, I absolutely love that they got the killer treatment on steroids and that they spawn on 4 maps. I think that is so good at making them harder to farm and making raids more dynamic and unpredictable across half the maps in Tarkov. But that feature should have come after they are tuned better. What this will likely end up in is just every once in a while, you instantly die to the bosses that spawn very rarely on a random map. I doubt it will often end in fun, engaging, dynamic fights with these new bosses. Imagine you get surprised on a random map by a GL round exploding near you but not on you, or an RSAS cracking off and barely missing you. Maybe you think it's a PMC for a while, and upon further investigation you realize, oh crap, the bosses spawn on this map, it's them. Then you assess the situation, you start seeing them running between trees, moving around, hearing more grenade launcher rounds exploding in the area, more RSAS shots, one hits you in the leg, you hear Big Pipe yell a taunt as he pushes you. These battles could be dynamic and fun and different every time. There's so much potential here, but it often falls short and ends up falling short because of the same reasons over and over and over again. So that's really it. My thoughts on gaming is that the player should be able to react, adapt, learn, and get better over time. And so often that is not what we get from the AI in Tarkov. Even in notoriously brutal games like the Dark Souls or Elden Ring series, the common enemies don't one-tap you, and the ones that do give you something to learn. The way they wind up an attack or how they move allows you to learn from that experience and get better. There's nothing to learn from dying to Killa from a one-tap when he rarely spawns on the map and you have no idea where he's going to spawn. There's nothing to learn from dying to a regular scav with an SKS from 75 meters away when his literal first shot kills you. I love Escape From Tarkov, and I love playing it, even the way that it is right now. Ultimately, what gets me here is that what the game tells us the experience is supposed to be, and even what the developers, what Nikita tells us the experience is supposed to be, doesn't line up with what we have in game. If Nikita came out and said, this is exactly what I want for the AI, you just never know if you're going to instantly die, and you got to learn and you got to suffer through it. I wouldn't agree with that, but I would respect that that's exactly what he wants, and I would continue to play this game because even as it is, I have fun. But that doesn't feel like what's happening. It feels like they continue to tell us that they want this experience and we get a vastly different experience, and then their solutions don't really have anything to do with the experience we have or the experience that we want. I hope that this communicated my thoughts well. The real solution might take time, money, and resources, but it is still worth talking about. And in the meantime, the Band-Aid would, in my opinion, make the game more fun and more playable for the largest part of the community that plays the game more casually. I don't think anyone from BSG watches my videos, but I hope that they see this, and I hope that we get some sort of conversation around the AI from them soon. I want the game to succeed and be fun and be what they want it to be. It just seems that what we have right now doesn't match up with that at all. But let me know what you guys think. Do you like the way the AI is right now, or would you like some of these changes to be implemented? If you like this video, think about dropping a like, commenting down below, or subscribing to the channel. That would help me out a ton, and it's absolutely free for you. I also stream Escape from Tarkov 6 days a week. All my links will be down below. I'd love to have you stop by and say hey. And if you're looking for people to play Tarkov with, our Discord server is an awesome place to be. That link is down below as well. Thank you again for stopping by, and I will definitely see y'all on the next one.